So, a while ago, a bunch of you guys were resonating with how I was talking about art and how important it is. And I've been thinking about it a lot recently. And because of that, I just wanted to share this, even if it's just something for me to look back on. And I think it's something that a lot of people go through as an artist. So maybe it's something that you will be able to relate to, or maybe think, oh, I remember when I experienced that myself. And I think it's really important to talk about not just art, but like our process as an artist because it's just so personal. So basically, I took a really long break from drawing. I was very completely obsessed with drawing, and I just was looking at it like a career only almost. And I think that made me really jaded about it. And actually, a week ago, I recorded a video that was almost exclusively about that. And it just got corrupted when I was exporting it. And I was like, maybe that's a sign because it was pretty negative. So I became pretty cynical and jaded about art. I was getting really depressed about AI art. And it just felt like I had poured so much energy into the idea of doing this, especially for money. And it was just like, I was feeling very hopeless, right? And so I took a lot of time away. I took years away from drawing, and that's that's okay. I just really needed to like kind of reestablish like what I like about it because for a long time I was like, I want to do this for a job. And so I was focused on developing these very specific skills that you can, use to monetize art. And I wasn't thinking about it like, what are my tastes? What do I like? And that's maybe the most meaningful part of the whole thing because you can do anything for money. Like you can get a job with very little skill and be successful at it, make a living at it. And art, it doesn't make the most sense to do that. To be like, oh, I'm going to make this my thing because, it's competitive and there are a lot of more secure paths if you want to think of it like that. So I needed a deeper why. And I was like, what is really behind this? And it took me a long time. And coupled with that, I would sit down to draw and it would just be like depressing because I didn't have that why yet. So, anyways, I've just been thinking about these things, kind of reflecting on the past few years, and I've been trying to reestablish the habit, just like sitting down to draw more regularly and give myself a chance to even have a good time. It kind of feels like I'm finally maybe having some epiphanies about it. So, this might sound stupid. This might color me in a bad light. I don't care because I think this is something that people go through. I was really, really concerned about what if I'm just drawing for other people's praise, and recognition. And I don't think this is true because there are other things I could do that would probably get me a lot more praise that are, maybe like better financially or, I'm sure you can think of a lot of things. And also, the amount of time that someone spends on an artwork versus like the tiny, couple seconds of someone being like, oh, that's pretty good, that is not worth it. And that I was kind of overgeneralizing, saying, oh, that's why I was doing it. I was just being egotistical. But that's not true. That's not true. I was missing the point. And the point is that there is something deeper and something really meaningful and personal. And that's what I was afraid of. That is really truthfully why I stopped. And I was telling myself, like, I don't want to do it for a job anymore, or I don't even know why I ever liked it. Maybe it was just to gain approval from others. But really, it was because I was afraid of myself and what I might actually make if I was being creative, like genuinely creative. And maybe you think like, oh, well, if you're drawing, you're being creative. You could make that argument. But to me, it didn't feel very creative because I was only focused on the right way of doing something and, maintaining realism and just having a kind of copied style and everything. I wasn't creating something from my heart. I was trying to fit myself into this hole of employment, right? So that's one thing I learned. I was like, I sit down and I start drawing and I feel depressed because I'm not actually drawing what I want to draw, or even not even about if I want to or not. It's like we receive these kind of like inspirations that are really outside of our control. And I was completely ignoring this. And that's what made me sad, because I was cutting off this part of myself that I didn't want to acknowledge because it was too vulnerable. And it wasn't even just about, oh, what if other people see this? What will they think of me? I'm sure that was part of it. But it was like, I can't even confront this myself. This is too like raw. And it was like, I couldn't meet myself and accept that maybe I had more to express than just, oh, look, I have this skill or whatever. And I think that's why it was so confusing to me. And I was like stuck for so long. And so that was one big thing. Now I'm starting to be like, okay, I'm just going to accept what I actually like am interested in and be honest with myself about my interests. And for some of you, you're probably like, this idiot, like, what do you mean you don't know what you're interested in? But I think this is just something that I have to, overcome in my life. And I think a lot of other people, might have the same issue where they can't be like completely honest with themselves for whatever reason about what genuinely excites them, especially with art, because it's very vulnerable. And I was thinking about it. I was like, I used to be I would show my art to people and stuff, but I would always want to disparage it, I guess, and talk poorly about it and be like, oh, well, this isn't the best I could do, or I was rushing, or I don't even like it. Because I was ashamed that it was like, this is the best I can do. And this is also a picture that I wanted to look at for like days, because it takes a long time to make something that I feel like is kind of worth showing off. And that was so hard for me. And then I was like, eventually it just crushed me. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep showing people this. It's too vulnerable. It's way too intimate, and it's weird, if you don't make art, you might not even understand like why it's intimate, but that's how it feels to me. And so that was something really difficult for me. And the second part of this is maybe a little bit less profound, but I think it is another big step in my journey as an artist. So, like I said, I was trying to learn a specific style, so I could be thinking about it as a job and etc. I wasn't really exploring my tastes. And so I would be able to find artists in the world, and I would look at their art and I would be like, I have no idea how they did it. And that was part of this magic of art to me, because it literally looked like magic. I was like, I have no idea how you created this. And like, I feel like when you are a beginner, you have this kind of default assumption that you're like, there's no way I could learn this. Like, they must have something I don't have. And that's where we get into like talent and everything. And I don't even want to touch the whole talent discussion in this video. But the point is, as you get more mature and you look at more art and you learn more techniques, the amount of work that is able to touch your soul like that and really just like hit you, it shrinks significantly. And it's like the bar raises higher and higher, for like what it takes to really move you. And for me, in my old tastes and stuff, a lot of the times the art that I would save and be like, oh my God, that's it. That's what I want to do. That's my dream, is to get to this level. It was all skill based. And now I'm, far from knowing everything about art, of course, you can learn forever. But I have become familiar with at least an overview of so many different techniques that it doesn't really like floor me like it used to. And so because of this, I don't necessarily have a like artist or set of artists as much that's like a direction that I want to go into. So it's kind of like I can't see my future as an artist, which is really scary because I've spent my whole life looking externally for like what do I want to do? Who do I want to emulate? Like what is the closest thing to something that interests me that I can reproduce, you know? And I have all of these artists that I've looked up to my whole life, and I still look up to them, but it's kind of this transition where instead of being so focused on the craft and being able to get to the same skill as another artist, it's like I'm shifting my perspective inward, and I'm like, no, I mean, I can learn from them, but I have to make my own art. And I have to like honor myself and my intuition and my ideas. And I can't look out there and find my art because it's, you know, it's in here. It's like in my brain. And maybe like my subconscious. It hasn't been created yet, obviously. And so it's like I have to kind of almost like put myself on the pedestal. And I think it's just kind of also really intertwined with my self esteem because now I'm not looking outside as much for like validation or something for my self esteem. I don't know if that makes any sense. But yeah, it's a really big step for me. And trying to make art that is actually for me and I feel proud of because I expressed something that was like maybe I can't even say it in words. Maybe I don't know why I want to share it, but it's there. And that and just everything I've been thinking, it's like just to chalk it all up to say this is an ego trip or something is insane. And the last thing I want to mention about the ego is maybe it's okay to just be good at something. If I think about other skills that people spend years of their life developing, of course they're going to want to do it. Duh. That's why you spend all this time. And so I was like, maybe I was just really sabotaging myself here while trying to overthink, like, oh my God, am I doing this for like an ethical enough reason? Like, is this just, some kind of like ego trip thing? It's so ridiculous. Okay, just go draw a stupid picture. It's not stupid. Go draw a picture that you care about. Go draw something that means something to you. And it will make you feel different. That's for sure. And if you're burnt out, you might just need to be more honest about trying to draw something that you care about. And maybe if you can't do that yet, then try anyways. And you will find like the gaps in your knowledge in order to get to that point. So, yeah, I hope you got something out of it. I feel much more excited about art than I have in a long time. So, you know, we're all in this together. All right, have a good one.